In the Egyptian resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh, beneath the soft light of the Sinai coast, a moment of diplomatic significance unfolds. Flags of the United States, Egypt, Qatar and Turkey line the summit hall as the world watches a rare alignment of leaders once deeply divided by conflict. At the center of the long polished table sits US President Donald Trump, flanked by Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad al-Thani and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. They are here to sign what diplomats are calling the Declaration on Gaza. It is October 13th, 2025, 2 years after the war that devastated the Gaza Strip and left more than 67,000 Palestinians dead, 169,000 injured, and 90% of the population displaced. The signing marks the formal endorsement of the Trump-brokered ceasefire framework, the culmination of months of negotiations involving Israel, Hamas, and multiple regional intermediaries. As cameras click and pens meet paper, each signature represents more than symbolism. It represents commitment to a fragile vision of peace. For Egypt, it is the fulfillment of its long-held role as regional mediator. For Qatar, a reaffirmation of its humanitarian presence and influence in post-war Gaza. For Turkey, a diplomatic return to the Arab stage after years of strained relations. And for the United States, the consolidation of Trump's most ambitious foreign policy gamble, that stability in Gaza can be the cornerstone of a new Middle East order. Moments after signing, President Trump rises to speak, addressing both allies and adversaries in a tone familiar yet freshly measured. "What we have done here is very, very historic," he says, his voice echoing through the marble chamber. "This agreement will bring safety, dignity and opportunity to people who have suffered for far too long." The applause that follows is deliberate, almost cautious. Behind the smiles lies a shared awareness. Implementing peace has always been harder than declaring it. The Sharm el-Sheikh Declaration builds upon the 20-point Gaza Peace Framework unveiled by Trump earlier in the year. That plan tied humanitarian reconstruction funds to verified compliance by both Israel and Hamas. It also introduced a new mechanism, a joint US, Egypt, Qatar, Turkey monitoring mission headquartered in Rafah to oversee aid distribution, border control and demilitarization milestones. Diplomats refer to it as a compact of pragmatism, an agreement where old rivals cooperate not out of friendship but necessity. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi describes it as Egypt's moral duty. "We have witnessed too much destruction in Gaza, and the time has come to rebuild not only the homes but the trust between people." Across the table, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad al-Thani calls the declaration a humanitarian obligation that transcends politics. His country has already pledged several $1 billion in relief and reconstruction funds focused on schools, hospitals and power infrastructure. For President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the moment carries both political weight and personal vindication. Turkey's government, once critical of US-led peace efforts, now joins as a guarantor. Erdogan states plainly, "We are here for the people of Gaza, not for the games of politics." Every child deserves a life free from bombs and fear. The Sharm el-Sheikh summit also symbolizes a turning point in US engagement with the Arab world. After years of conflict diplomacy conducted through pressure, Washington is now deploying a model of transactional peace, promises of reconstruction in exchange for regional normalization. Trump's aides describe the event as the anchor stage of his second-term foreign policy doctrine, peace through prosperity, enforced by accountability. The United States has committed to coordinating a $70 billion Gaza Reconstruction Fund, drawing contributions from Gulf nations, the European Union and Asian development banks. In return, signatory states pledge to monitor every phase of rebuilding, from rubble clearance to the reopening of ports, ensuring that no aid is diverted for military use. The atmosphere in Sharm el-Sheikh is both ceremonial and tense. Delegates from 20 nations watch as Trump exchanges a brief handshake with Erdogan, a gesture unthinkable just a few years earlier. Photographers capture the moment, framing it as proof that necessity can bridge even the deepest political divides. In Tel Aviv, Israeli media call the signing a strategic breakthrough. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office issues a short statement praising US leadership and confirming Israel's conditional support. In Doha, Arabic networks celebrate Qatar's central role in funding Gaza's revival. And in Tehran, officials express skepticism, calling the deal a photo opportunity rather than genuine peace. Yet even critics admit that the alignment of Washington, Cairo, Doha and Ankara is unprecedented. Analysts note that these four powers now represent the essential access routes to Gaza's survival: air, sea, land and diplomacy. As leaders exchange documents, aides circulate copies for international observers. Trump smiles as he passes the final page to the Egyptian host. "This is not just paper," he remarks. "This is a promise that will be kept." Behind him, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo nods approvingly, while Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, Trump's envoys for Middle East development, confer quietly with Qatari and Turkish ministers. Their task: coordinate the technical rollout of aid convoys expected to begin within 48 hours. Egyptian state television broadcasts the moment live, cutting between close-ups of signatures and wide shots of the Sinai coastline, where security forces line the perimeter. Outside, hundreds of Egyptian soldiers stand at attention under the midday sun, while convoys of white SUVs marked Peace Mission idle nearby. In Cairo, evening talk shows hail al-Sisi's leadership. In Istanbul, banners celebrate Turkey's return to moral diplomacy. And in Washington, the White House calls it the start of Gaza's renaissance. At the Hostages Square in Tel Aviv, families of Israeli captives gather around large screens showing the ceremony. Some hold pictures of relatives still missing, others wave flags chanting for lasting peace. The declaration itself does not directly mention hostages, but aides confirm that parallel negotiations are underway to secure the final releases. For Palestinians, hope is tempered with exhaustion. In Gaza City, residents watch the signing on small battery-powered TVs amid shattered neighborhoods slowly returning to life. Generators hum, children play among debris, and parents dare to imagine rebuilding. A shopkeeper tells a local reporter, "We've heard promises before, but maybe this time the world really means it." Implementing the Sharm el-Sheikh Declaration will not be simple. The ceasefire remains fragile, monitored by a multinational observer mission based in Rafah. Political distrust between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority continues to hinder governance, and the risk of renewed violence remains ever present. Yet for the first time in years, reconstruction trucks are crossing the border with international escort. Hospitals in Khan Yunis are restocking supplies. Temporary housing is rising in northern Gaza, and satellite images show small but visible signs of rebuilding. New roofs where there was once only dust. The US administration insists that funding will flow only as benchmarks are verified, schools reopened, weapons collected, and civilians safely resettled. The system, officials say, is designed to make peace measurable. For Donald Trump, this signing adds to a legacy he hopes will define his second term, a legacy of deals over wars. Supporters call it the most significant Middle East peace effort since the Camp David Accords. Critics dismiss it as election year theatre. Either way, the images from Sharm el-Sheikh will travel the world. 4 leaders, 4 pens, 1 shared document, a photograph destined for history books. Egyptian broadcasters replay the moment in slow motion, the ink drying, hands clasping, flags fluttering in the background. The narration calls it a new dawn for Gaza. But in the corridors outside, diplomats are already discussing the next phase, a reconstruction summit scheduled for Doha next month, where financial pledges will be finalized. As the summit concludes, the leaders gather for a final photo. Trump turns slightly toward al-Sisi, saying with a grin, "Beautiful day for peace, right?" The Egyptian president replies softly, "Inshallah, God willing, Mr. President." Cameras capture their exchange, light, human, unscripted. A fitting symbol of the fragile hope that defines this agreement. Outside, the Sinai sky glows orange over the Red Sea. Delegations depart, convoys move toward the airport, and the world is left to ponder whether signatures can indeed heal wounds carved by decades of war. For now, the paper stands. The ink is real, and somewhere between promise and proof lies the future of Gaza. This is the Sharm el-Sheikh Declaration, a promise signed, a peace begun.